enough to help his country fight organized crime groups responsible for the violence. He blames the U.S. for turning a blind eye to weapons seeping south across its border and not doing enough to stop U.S. demand for illegal drugs.
Thousands of military officers and police have fallen in the line of duty in Mexico. To these deaths, we add the death of Jaime Zapata.
Jaime Zapata is the U.S. immigration agent killed reportedly with a gun purchased in the United States. The White House wants the alleged killer tried in the U.S. Appearing on Capitol Hill, the Homeland Security Secretary reassured lawmakers that would be the case.
Is it the administration's position that we will be seeking extradition into the United States? That's very good news.
Mexico wants assurances the U.S. would not seek the death penalty if the suspect is convicted. But the White House acknowledges it shares responsibility for the wider drug problem.
I reiterated that the United States accepts our shared responsibility for the drug violence.
The U.S. acknowledgement of its role in the cross-border drug problem is being viewed as a step forward.
The question is, are they doing enough to reduce consumption? Are they doing enough to stop the trafficking of weapons?
The U.S. is giving Mexico more than $1 billion a year to help them fight the drug cartels. Washington hopes this will help turn down the temperature in its often heated relationship with an ambivalent neighbor. Kimberly Helkett, Al Jazeera, Washington.
China says it will increase its defense budget by 12.7% this year. But officials in Beijing say a return to double-digit military growth is not a threat to other countries. The increase would put China's 2011 military budget at almost $92 billion. The plan must be rubber-stamped by the National People's Congress, which begins its 5-yearly meeting on Saturday.
Since the NPC session has not yet formally opened, if it's approved by the upcoming session, the defense budget for the year 2011 will be around 601.1 billion yuan.
And Al Jazeera's Melissa Chan has more on the focus of this year's meeting.
It's one of the few times of the year when China's leaders make major announcements. The National People's Congress, ostensibly the country's legislative body, but with much of the decision-making made well beforehand. This year, the government's preoccupation will be the economy. Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao has said he would like to see China limit its annual GDP growth to 7%. Given the soaring real estate prices, the government has promised 36 million affordable homes to be built over the next 5 years. Personal income tax will also see a change, with the premier promising it will benefit medium and low-income brackets. It's clear the government is concerned not just with China's growing economy, but with how the money is distributed.
It's a shift from a focus on quantity to quality. And then whether that has to do with the environment or geographic distribution of development or income distribution among classes.
Inflation is the other big problem here, particularly with food prices, giving people a reason to grumble about the government every day.
It would use all the mechanisms at its disposal, interest rates, reserve requirements, even the exchange rate to fight inflation.
So on Saturday, when Premier Wen Jiabao takes the podium, it will be to assure the public the government has this under control.
This year, the word to watch for will be happy. Already, we're seeing it in state media, a happy China and happy Chinese. It's a government promising more than just the basics to the people, more than prosperity, but also well-being. Melissa Chan, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
In Brazil, Rio de Janeiro's party-goers are adding the finishing touches to the city's annual carnival. Samba divas, burly police officers, and even the newly elected President Dilma Rousseff will be among the costumes adorning the revelers on Rio streets this season. The party gets into full swing when the mayor of Rio hands over the city's key to King Momo, that's the carnival's monarch. And here's a reminder that you can always keep up to date with all of the news on our website. To find that, go to aljazeera.net/English. This is Al Jazeera, and these are the stories making the headlines. Government fighters in Brega say they are in control of the town despite continuing air raids. The area has been under attack from forces loyal to the Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi for 2 days. These pictures from nearby AlJazeera show reinforcements arriving and arming themselves. Witnesses say hundreds have been arriving there from across eastern Libya. The U.S. president has again called on President Gaddafi to step down. Barack Obama said all options are on the table, but he would not commit to enforcing a no-fly zone.
Violence must stop. Muammar Gaddafi has lost legitimacy to lead, and he must leave. Those who perpetrate violence against the Libyan people will be held accountable. And the aspirations of the Libyan people for freedom, democracy, and dignity must be met.
Well, Gaddafi and his allies have also been warned that they risk becoming war crime suspects. The International Criminal Court has announced a full investigation into alleged human rights violations in Libya. Tens of thousands of people are expected to rally across the Arab world on Friday as they keep up the pressure for reforms. Anti-government protesters in Yemen are not letting up on their demand for President Ali Abdullah Saleh's immediate resignation. The protesters have rejected a proposal by some opposition groups for Saleh to leave office by the end of this year. In Tunisia, celebrations broke out on the streets of the capital, Tunis, following the announcement that the interim president, Fouad Mebaza, has called elections for July 24th. Now, the vote will elect a group to rewrite the constitution, but that means Mebaza will remain in power beyond his March 15th deadline. China says it will increase its defense budget by 12.7% this year, but reiterated its military growth is not a threat to other countries. The announcement comes on the eve of Beijing's annual 10-day conference, which lays down the country's social and economic goals for the next 5 years. Lawyers for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange have lodged an appeal against his extradition to Sweden. He's wanted for questioning about alleged sexual assault. Assange will remain on bail in the UK. Those are the headlines. Stay with us now for Frost Over the World.
Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World. Later in the programme, that leading Italian politician Emma Bonino on Gaddafi, on Berlusconi and on refugees. But my first guest is a global superstar in every sense of the word. During more than 30 years in the music industry, he's sold, wait for it, almost 100 million records, either solo or with the band with which he made his name, The Police. In between, he's composed scores more songs, pursued an acting career, and taken up various courses, most famously trying to save the Brazilian rainforest. He is, of course, Sting. His current worldwide tour features him playing with full orchestras in a style he calls symphonicity.